what's up? I'm Justin. Welcome to the channel. If you like this video, think about subscribing, and I hope you're all having an amazing day. So there are a lot of acoustic drummers out there that don't want to switch to electronic drums. They don't want to buy a standalone drum set. They don't want to convert their acoustic drums into electronic drums, but they kind of want the possibilities of an electronic drum set. They want to be able to take samples they found online, because there are a lot of really nice samples out there for free and ones that you can buy. And they just want to be able to apply that to their snare or their kick drum and just have this layered, awesome sound that you see and hear in a lot of concerts and a lot of albums. This is what's going down. You're going to need a drum trigger that you're going to put on your snare, on your kick drum. You're going to run those triggers into a box of some sort, either a drum module, an interface, or a sample pad. You're going to tie that sample pad into your mixer that you've got all your drum mics plugged into. And then from there, you can layer the sounds. You can actually get whatever sample, whatever kick drum sample, whatever snare drum sample you want online, import it into that module, and then you can mix the two sounds together. That's the overview. Step by step, I'm going to show you what to buy and how to do it pretty simply. So the first thing you'll need to buy is a drum trigger. This is step one. There's a lot of different brands out there. They range from 15 bucks, which you shouldn't buy, all the way to like $300, which you shouldn't buy for this situation. What you're looking for is something that clips on to the rim of your drum. So if you want something that all the professionals use, this is a Roland RT30HR. Lots and lots of professional drummers use this, and this is a previous generation version of that. This is the RT10S, and I did a comparison video. If you Google RT30 versus RT10, my video will show up, and you'll see that the performance of both of these is pretty similar. This one's half the cost. You can find it for like, I don't know, 40 or 30 bucks or whatever on eBay. This one is $90 brand new and a little bit less if you buy it used. You just got to buy enough triggers for your situation. You can buy one for every tom and everything, or you can just buy a kick and a snare set of triggers, because that's what a lot of acoustic drummers out there want. They don't necessarily want to have different electronic layered sounds on everything under the sun. They just want a layered kick sound and a layered snare sound. So if you want to get one of these, all you got to do is literally clip this on to the rim of your drum. It's not rocket science at all. You just loosen this up and then just tighten this onto the rim of your drum. Any placement at all should pretty much work. If you want to get two zones out of these triggers, for the rim and for the drum head, you'll need to buy a dual zone trigger. So from Roland, they got the ones for the toms, which might be a little cheaper sometimes, but they're only going to trigger the drum head. And then the snare version is the Roland RT30HR, and that will give you the rim zone and the drum head zone. And so you'll need a stereo cable for this as well, because if you get a mono cable, it won't carry the signal of both of those zones. And if you can't swing $90 and if you can't swing $50, then the really budget option is the D-Drum Red Shot. And the D-Drum Pro acoustic line of triggers is really nice as well. But the D-Drum Red Shot is for people on a budget, $15, and it does the job. Okay, so that was step one. Buy a set of drum triggers. Now that you have these, you got to plug them into something. You need a brain of some sort. So you have three major options to choose from. The first one is to buy a drum module. This is what a lot of people go for, and something like a Roland TM2 or an Alesis DM10, just something that's not too expensive that will do the job. A lot of times the sounds on those things won't be that amazing, let's be honest. You're more worried about getting an SD card, plugging it in there, and uploading samples to it. Option number two is to buy a trigger interface, such as like an Alesis Trigger IO, something like that. Those are basically drum modules with no sounds inside of them. The whole idea is that the trigger interface acts as a middleman between your trigger and a laptop. There's a bunch of drummers out there that don't really want to go the hardware route, and they just want to have all their samples stored on their laptop and just have some sort of empty box, a trigger interface that goes to that. There are a lot of different programs for laptops that can house samples that you find online and download. Something like Battery or Ableton Live. There's a lot of different programs. And then there's option number three, which is my personal favorite. Buy a multipad. So with a multipad, the advantage is that you get a bunch of different zones, and you can assign loops to those zones. You can assign chord progressions to each one of those zones. That's how a lot of those really weird solos happen. You can do so much with a multipad, but you can plug these straight into the back of the multipad, and the multipad acts as if it's a drum module. And it's got MIDI, so it can run to your laptop too if you want it to. And then on top of all that, you can plug in a foot switch so you could advance kits without having to reach over in the dark on stage and try to go to kit number 4 when you're on kit number 1 right now. So if you're thinking about buying a multipad, there are two major options I would look at: the Alesis option and the Roland option. The Alesis one is the Alesis Sample Pad Pro, which I have behind me right here. I did a review of it. If you want to go check it out, just type in 65 drums, Alesis Sample Pad Pro review. And it's a very nice pad for hardly any money, but it's not really perfect, unfortunately. It's not professional worthy. There are some things that hold me back from recommending anyone to take it on stage, but for like home use and the occasional recording, it's okay. If you want to play something that's incredibly rock solid and you can take from gig to gig to gig, you're probably going to save up the extra money and buy the Roland SPDSX, which is $700. I know it's a lot to stomach, but it's like a nicer piece of gear. So those are the three options you can look at. You can buy a module, a trigger interface, or a sample pad. So let's talk about how to actually load these samples onto whatever device you're going to buy. I'm going to take this from the perspective of someone that's going to be plugging these triggers into an Alesis sample pad. That's how I'm going to show you how to do this from here on out in the video. So what you got to do is just plug a cable from this into the back of your sample pad. Certain pads don't have all the inputs as dual zone. On the Alesis Sample Pad Pro, only the first pad input is dual zone, so I have to plug my snare into that. And if I'd plugged in my kick drum, I'd plug it into pad input number 2, since it's a mono input. Here's a super condensed version on how to find and load samples onto a multipad so you can trigger them with a drum trigger like this one. So this part of the process really isn't that bad. You find whatever sample you want online, paid or free. There's a bunch of different options out there. I downloaded some free stuff, but you gotta wade through an ocean of crap in order to find the really good stuff. Or you can spend a little bit less time and buy something. And you know, the reason why something costs money is because someone else did the work for you to make something that's actually good. Remember, not all modules accept all formats. So there will be some modules and some sample pads that won't let you load in MP3 files, but they'll let you load in WAV files. So some manufacturers, such as Alesis, have little file converter apps that you can download, and it will make it so whatever file you throw at it will work and will be compatible with your sample pad. Now what do? You probably got to spend some time dialing in how these actually respond to your playing, because unfortunately, acoustic drums and triggers don't always play well right out of the box. So here's what I'm talking about. Whenever you hit an acoustic drum head, it resonates for a very long time. There's a lot of aftershock waves that happen when you hit an acoustic Mylar drum head. And so your drum trigger is trying to do its job over here, and it's trying to detect every tiny little thing you do, pick up all the buzz rolls and stuff. But whenever you hit once and there's a bunch of aftershock waves, sometimes a drum trigger, actually a lot of times, let's be honest, a lot of times a drum trigger will be tricked into thinking you hit the drum when you really didn't. So these are false trigger impulses. So you got to fix this in the drum module, and also try to do a little bit more muffling than you usually do. That will also help the trigger results, just an FYI. So the first thing you got to do is open up your drum module, go to trigger settings. It's a little bit different everywhere you go in different drum modules, but go to trigger settings and then adjust the threshold. You'll probably need to raise it a little bit. Now, don't raise it if everything's working properly. If everything's working properly, then don't touch anything. You've hit gold. But if it's not working, you got to do something to fix that problem. So if you hit the drum once and you're hearing 2 to 4 different hits afterwards, some aftershock hits that you didn't actually play on the drum, then you'll probably want to raise the threshold. And basically what this does is it's like a gate. If you hit the drum too quiet, it won't pick up the sound of you playing at all. If you hit at above a certain threshold, which you're going to set with this number right here, then it will accept that as a drum hit. Now, I made an entire video going over every single setting inside of drum modules, because threshold is definitely not your only tool. You can adjust retrigger cancel, you can adjust mask time. There's a bunch of different settings out there that I don't want to go into in this video. So if you want an in-depth look on how to solve all your triggering problems when you're trying to get this darn thing to work, go watch this video. I'll link it down in the description below. It'll give you a more in-depth look on how to fix all this. And then of course, the last thing is just to spend hours and hours and hours messing around with different sound combinations. So as you're experimenting, there'll be songs where you're gonna have the electronic samples as the main focus of that song, with the acoustic drums in the background, you know, just chilling and also adding a little bit of body to the sound. And then there will be other songs where you're gonna have the electronic sound as the background piece, as like the bones, the structure behind your acoustic sound. So the acoustic sound will be the attack, will be the main focus of the sound, but then you'll have a really thick sample of a kick drum underneath of it, so sort of give it power, and then you'll have a really interesting background sound for the snare to also just make it a little more interesting. There's a lot of different combinations of sounds out there. I'm going to play some examples right here. Hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.